Right now on Tech Radio, could it be the end of the Magnificent Seven?
Hi, I'm Artemis. I am a computer-generated AI voice, and you're listening to Tech Radio.
Every week online, we bring you the latest in tech from Ireland and across the world. Welcome to episode 1114. This week, looking at the results season for big tech, why IT is more stressful than ever before in Ireland, and it's Celebrity Deathmatch with Musk v. Altman. Plus, we'll be talking about life after copper networks in Ireland with the managing director of Magnet Plus, Patrick Masterson.
From techcentral.ie, this is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
I'm Dusty. Joining me as always, our editor-in-chief, Niall Kitson. Niall, it's results week, and I believe you want to play a game.
Yeah. Because I put up so many of these stories this morning, and some of them kind of write themselves, and some of them I was a little bit, okay, that's interesting. So I figured, instead of going through these one after another, we'll do a little bit of play your cards right. Is it higher or lower?
Okie dokie.
That's a deep cut right there, isn't it?
All right. So listen, the Magnificent Seven, because I have an idea. Now, I don't have the facts, all right? And I only kind of glanced at these things, so I can, whatever. But my overall thing, I have in my head. So I'll play the game in a second. But just to point out the Magnificent Seven, and is at the end for Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla. They're the Magnificent Seven. We've had results for, I think, 3 of those, and Spotify.
I actually have 6 of them on Spotify.
Okay. Well, come on, hit me. Come on, let's go.
Okay. Well, let's start with Apple. Based on this time last year, are we higher or lower?
Now, are you higher and lower with what? Output,
revenue. We'll just go revenue.
Revenue. All right. Revenue higher.
Okay. We'll put a percentage on it, right? And we'll give broad ranges. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Right. 0 to 5, 5 to 10, or 10 plus.
Oh God, this is like
How
doing
well
a telephone.
Do you think
this is like doing a telephone questionnaire. Okay. Let's make it more. Okay. So let's go through all of them and see, because I reckon they're all up. Okay. So I would say Apple is up significantly. So
really?
15%.
No.
Ooh.
Apple are up 4% year on year, with reported revenues of 92 billion and net income of 23 million. Would you care to hazard a guess as to how much of that is their iPhone business?
Oh, I would say most of it, actually. I think most of their stuff is coming in from iPhones these days, not on the Macs. And then they've got services as well. So on the hardware side of things, definitely iPhone is the king.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. iPhone accounts for 48% of their total revenue.
Wow. I didn't think that was that high of total. Okay.
And services is 25 billion. Now, bearing in mind that, services means different things to different people. But in Apple land, services is like Apple Music and iCloud. It's all consumer facing stuff. Whereas with the likes of Microsoft, they've got Azure. It's very, very different business altogether. So, to be bringing in 25 billion is pretty dang good. So there you go. Some might say that's a strategic shift away from, the reliance on hardware. But we do have the MacBook Neo to be accounted for. And we've got a couple of other things that we can talk about a little bit later. But there you go. Apple up by, I'm going to call that a fairly modest amount. I don't think it's fantastic, but I'm sure the shareholders will be happy enough. And given the, I don't even want to call it turbulence. I mean, this is probably the first, how would you say, the first report with John Turnus mentioned
he's
not the coming hotness. I mean, we have, he's got until September. So, there's plenty of time for him to bed in as an idea for investors. So, okay. Apple. Do you want to take one?
Well, just give me the next one on the list. Amazon next.
Let's look at Amazon. Okay. Play your cards right, Dusty. Up, down, or pretty much the same.
I'm going to go with up again. And I would say, actually, I would have thought maybe 15% up with Amazon on revenue. Yes, actually, I'm going to stick with that.
Wow. This is actually going to blow your mind a little bit. Followed by, yeah, I suppose so. Amazon Web Services. Revenue in the first quarter up 28%.
Mm-hmm.
37.6 billion compared to, and even, Happy Sunday analysts were saying if we're, 25% up and revenue of 36 billion. So Amazon has, that's AWS on its own. Amazon is an entire entity, right? Web store and all, 17% higher to 181.5 billion in the last quarter.
Okay. And you know what? I would put money into Amazon because they are getting into the space race, they're already in it, but they bought another company there recently, which will greatly expand their satellite network for direct-to-home internet services. And I actually think that could work really, really well for them because unlike Elon Musk's operation Starlink, isn't it? Amazon have a relationship with people in homes already.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you would you like to add broadband connectivity onto your Amazon account?
This is it, and for people who are out in the sticks in the middle of nowhere, it's fantastic, especially if you're able to bring good speed to them. So AWS, I'm not surprised that's up a quarter, and overall they're up 17%, which is very close to my 15%. Thank you very much. Yeah, Alphabet next, come on, bring it on. I'm feeling hot.
You're feeling it, okay. Alphabet, are we up, down, or pretty much the same?
I'm sticking with up, but I will go minorly 2%.
Okay, in the first quarter, Alphabet's total revenue rose by 22%.
Holy shit.
To 109.9 billion, with Google Cloud revenue growing 63% to 20 billion, net profit 62.5 billion. Analysts' expectations pretty much smashed there. Yeah, good margins. Now, however, just kind of a side note / that's why, engineering is a tough gig to get at the moment. What percentage of code in Google would you think is now written by AI?
Oh, crikey. Oh, no, what a horrible question.
Yeah.
I would say it's more than I think. Let's go with 25%. A quarter of code is written by AI.
Oh, my goodness. If you were in 2024, you would have been so spot on.
Okay.
If you were in 2025, the answer was 50%. So far this year, 75% of all new code in Google is written by AI. And all the engineers do is review it. 75%.
We are in trouble with that because if they're reviewing it, that's fine. But they're reviewing it because they have experience of what they know is right. If human beings just continue to review, then how in 5 years' time will they know what's right? Because they never wrote code. The humans didn't.
That's it. It's something I wrote about on a blog post a couple of weeks ago about the minimum viable human. I'm calling it is basically if you graduate as with a degree, right? You have basically 18 months to start putting your skills to use before they start atrophying and you're no longer current, right? So you are on a clock to get some kind of junior position. Junior positions now require 5 years of industry experience.
How do you get in? How do you get in on the ground floor if you have to have 5 years experience on the ground floor in order to get into the ground floor? It's bananas.
What do you do? Like, do you end up doing like 5 years worth of internships? Who can afford that?
No
one.
No.
It's a very strange and very depressing place to be if you're entering the jobs market at the moment.
And even that's not the reason why I'm predicting the end of the Magnificent Seven, but we'll get to that in a minute. Okay. Meta, did they have a result this week?
Now let me bring up my Meta story, because we're talking about Meta a couple of times this week. Meta is kind of interesting. Well, are they? Yeah, let's say they're kind of interesting, because we know that Meta is going through some tough times. Yeah. They're laying off 10% of their workforce, which is about 8,000 people. They're cutting loose their contract with Covalent in Ireland, who I think handle their content management. So those people are being let go. So in the first quarter, would you say Meta are higher or lower?
I'm actually swinging for lower, and that's just on a gut, because you said they're in trouble and it just seems to be bad news around them all the time. And also, just colloquially, I just hear people, and this is what I think, all of the females in my life are going, Instagram is appalling. I'm not using it anymore.
Really? Instagram is over?
Well, now I never used it, so I'm just saying that's what I'm hearing. And then I'm hearing that people just don't use Facebook anymore, whether it's just the cohort I hang out with. But anyway, I just don't hear any good news on that side of things, which is why I say Meta is down. Am I right
I hate
or
to
wrong?
break it to you, but we're kind of in almost peak Facebook age group.
No,
look, you're not going to find us on Snap.
Hello, yes, I'm on Facebook. I like sending messages to the team at Nationwide. It's my favorite show.
Leave Nationwide alone.
And that nice man on in the afternoons on the telly. What's his name from Kerry?
Yeah,
Dahi something.
Right, well, you leave Nationwide out of this.
I love Marty in the morning on Lyric, and I Facebook him as well.
Okay. Before you go entirely puerile on me, in the first quarter, Meta saw its revenue rise by 33%.
What?
To 56.3 billion, compared with expectations of 55.6 billion. So another overperformer. Operating profit increased 30% to 22.9 billion. Net profit rose 61% to 26.8 billion. Number of daily active users, interestingly enough, increased 4%. To 3.56 billion.
Okay. Maybe they're doing it in other parts of the world and not in the Western world. Microsoft also had results this week.
Microsoft did. And Microsoft are a very interesting case, because we've kind of talked about, well, I suppose we're kind of 2 for 2. Meta consumer leading, Apple consumer leading, and Microsoft kind of a best of both worlds kind of company. I mean, they've always had one foot in business, one foot in consumer. Now, business is the majority of, what pays their respective bills and dividends and all that kind of thing. And in the last few weeks, Microsoft introduced a buyout package for staff, because they're doing an internal reorganization. So they're offering, it's 8,700 employees are being given the option of voluntary redundancy. It's their first large scale sort of scheme of its kind in company history. It looks like 7% of the US workforce will actually qualify for this. So it's... I wonder if this has a bang of, the Oracle layoffs about it, that lessons were learned, that, you can't fire people by email, especially people of standing within the company, just because because they've got too much shares or they're being paid too much. So, for the moment, it's a voluntary thing. I get the sense that this is as much about streamlining management as it is about reducing the number of engineers. Which is what I get the sense for with Meta. So, would you guess that they are higher or lower?
Microsoft.
Yeah.
I'm going higher, but how much higher? 10%, between 5 and 10%, because they've been around for ages.
Microsoft's total revenue grew 18% year on year in the quarter end 31st of March. It was
Bananas.
$82.89 billion.
These are all year-on-year figures, so you're kind of comparing what it was 12 months ago compared to what it is now.
Where I've been able to get year on year, I've got year on year, whether it's quarter on quarter.
Because that makes a big difference, all right? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So anyway, Microsoft are up a lot. What about finally Spotify?
Spotify. Well, do you want to find out about NVIDIA? This is breaking news this morning.
Oh, crikey. I didn't think they were on the list. Go on.
Yeah. Now, I mean, this is kind of, we're still in the realm of speculation. But I found a report early this morning saying that stock in NVIDIA is down 1% ahead of announcing the actual results. So I think part of this is linked to OpenAI's results, which were released earlier this week, which found that they weren't growing their user base as quickly as they would like. And of course, NVIDIA is, very much dependent on OpenAI as a customer. So if they can't fulfill their orders, it leads to this kind of house of cards thing. And Oracle are very badly exposed to this as well. But so at time of talking to you, NVIDIA stock's down 1%. So maybe they will go up, but not as much as hoped.
Okay, we shall wait and see on that. And then Spotify.
Here's an interesting one, because I have found that when we talk about, I suppose, subscriptions that are kind of on the bubble, it's like, what subscription could you not happily, but like which would be the first in line for you
What's
to dodge?
What's going to go? Yeah. As belts are tightening, what goes first?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also bear in mind that Spotify have put their rates up again. I think they've added €1 onto their subscriptions. Yeah. Subscriptions are getting so expensive these days that, like, remember when Netflix launched, a subscription was like $7.99, and they were like, "Yep, we're competing on price. This is what we're doing. You're not going to get a catalog as good as the States because we want to keep the price down." Now, we still don't have a catalog that's as good as the States, and we're paying twice that for the same thing and an awful lot of bad TV on top of it. But anyway, Spotify, their share price actually took a bit of a hammering on the back of these results. It was, I think they fell by something like 9%. Now, they are saying they've got 778 million active subscribers. They had expected 773, so they actually overperformed in that respect. And in the first quarter, their revenue rose 8% to 4.53 billion. It's about the same. It's about in line with expectations. For the second quarter, they reckon, it'll be 4.8 billion. It'll be slightly up. But there you go. We're looking at quarterly results here. So 4.53 billion, 8% better than last December. Surprised, unsurprised?
I am not surprised at all. I think what's interesting is all of these companies that you said, their turnover has gone up, their revenue has gone up over the last 12 months. But of course, the world was a completely different place last March, April in 2025 compared to what it is today and what we are facing. And I think it's interesting that even though the revenue is up, most of those companies have seen their share price go down. And this is why I'm kind of thinking, are we about to see the end of the Magnificent Seven, or is the recession everybody's talking about coming, Because stock markets always look to the future. And there's two big problems, right? Number one is what's going on in the world with the war in Iran. And that is going to have an effect. We're reaching a point now where all of the oil that had left Iran before the war has now been delivered, and there are no new deliveries of oil in the coming 3 months. So that's going to have an effect on the world in general. The proverbial shit's really going to hit the fan, essentially. All right. So that's going to affect everything. And you said it yourself. It's, kind of like if that's happening and the price of fuel is going up and energy and everything, and you start tightening your belt, what are the things to go? It's stuff like Spotify and Apple Music, or you're not going to buy that new phone, or maybe you'll just use that laptop for another year. All of those kind of things. All right. So yeah, I think the revenue is going to dip for all of those. And then the other big concern with the market is that it's the investment into AI. Now, the one good thing about AI is that they are all seem to be investing their own money. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not raising money, or they're not getting huge investments or public investments or anything like that. They are doing it, but they're never going to see that investment back, certainly through a typical subscription model, if you want to put it that way. So we're investing, 100 billion into it. How long is it going to take us to get 100 billion back in €20 a month subscriptions? Do you know what I mean? It's not going to happen. But I think the real race with AI, with these companies, and this is what nobody knows, is whoever wins that AI race and becomes the Google of AI in 10 years' time is going to be the winner, big time. And it could be any of them.
I don't think there will be a Google of AI. I think AI will just be as part of everything. I would be, everything will just be built into everything else.
I don't know. I think one of the companies through licensing and stuff like that will emerge as the winner, as the dominant. Like, it's funny, ChatGPT came out and like that was the one. Then we had DeepSeek from China, which kind of gave it a bit of a knock because everybody came out, oh my God, what? There's another one? And they're doing it for a tenth of the price? Oh my God. And now everybody's talking about Anthropic, who seem to be just kind of slaying it.
Well, Claude
things will change.
Anthropic did something very, that was excellent PR for them. They backed out of the US government contract, the defense contract, because they said we won't develop, we won't be involved in developing automated weapons. To which the US government said, oh yes, you will. To which they said, no, we won't. We're pulling out of this contract. We don't want to work on this. OpenAI promptly stepped in and said, hey, you guys seem to need help with developing automated weapons. We're your guy. And a lot of people took umbrage at that. A lot of people said, this is not the mission we're interested in. And so it's been wonderful PR for Anthropic. They've turned into sort of the good guys in AI. Good for them, but there's no good guys.
As Google
so
were once upon a time. Anyways, yes, so I think revenues are up, but share prices are down. And I think, kind of looking over the next 12 months, I think downwards is going to be the trajectory we go on. Listen, we've talked an awful lot about that. We have a ton of other stories to get through, so let's fly through them here. Intel they've had enough of all this Apple and their M processor and the yada, yada, yada. So they're doing something about it.
They're doing it live. No, the Wildcat Lake Core 300 processor. Keep that in your head. This is going to be the competitor to the A series processors that are being used in the MacBook Neo. So at the moment, the A18 chip is being used in it. If you are interested in buying a MacBook Neo, hold that thought. Wait a couple of months. There is an upgrade coming very soon, and it's going to be using the A19 chip. So hang on, you can do it.
What's in it at the moment? It's the A17, is it?
No, it's the 18.
Oh, the 8. Is there going to be that much of a jump?
Well, hey, it's
It's one more number.
Well, there's more than one more number, and you know what it is. It's orders of magnitude in performance. But people do seem to be very happy with their MacBook Neos in the same way that, the response has been very good. Apparently, it's still very good with multitasking. The build quality is good. The idea that, and I think I peddled this when I saw it first as well, that this was going to be Apple's idea of Chromebook. No, it seems to be becoming a thing on its own because it is built that much better. So maybe that's the thing, just project quality. And if it's something you can hang on to for longer, maybe that's a selling point in itself.
Yeah, I have that now. I was in a Select Tech the other day, and I had a look at the Neo and just got to get our hands on. It feels and acts exactly like a MacBook Air. but with the lawnmower engine instead of the premium engine,
and the backlit keyboard,
and the backlit keyboard. I mean, there's lots of there's little things like, but I think kind of the lack of RAM and the seriously underpowered processor, I think is what would hurt them. I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. All right.
Hey.
And that's just because, kind of when I have Chrome open, I've got several tabs open, I've got several other programs open all at the same time, and I'm trying to do things and I want to be in a hurry. And I just think that the Neo will crash under all of that. I think a Neo will be perfect for a student who's kind of got, a couple of tabs open and maybe a Word document or something like that, or you're doing kind of light work on it. But if you want to use it as a daily driver, I just don't think it'll be up to scratch. But other than that, with the actual feel and the weight of it and everything, yeah, it's the same as a MacBook Air. That's essentially the way I see it. Speaking of Apple, John Turnus, we mentioned him. He is not taking over until the start of September, but he's already making his mark, showing a little ambition, dare I say.
Yeah, well, the man has come out and said, look, I've got 10 products in mind. And the first of them, and now we have to enter the realm of speculation from here on, because you know how tight-lipped Apple are about these things. But there are a few things out in the ether that have been there for a long time. For example, top of the list would be a foldable iPhone, because foldables, they've kind of found their niche. People are kind of getting used to them, whether it's a flip or a fold out. Of course, the eternal problem is the screen and that little fold, the actual fold in the screen. That if Apple are working on it, they've either solved it or are close enough to. So I think that's that will probably be his first big reveal. The easy add to that would be a foldable iPad as well. But maybe that's low-hanging fruit. Thereafter, it will be interesting to see what Apple does, because when Apple has created the modern ecosystem for mobile devices. I mean, here's your phone, here's your earpads, here's your watch, here's some tags so you don't lose anything. And these are the standard. If you're anyway serious about creating a hardware ecosystem, those are the beats you've got to hit.
Yeah.
So given that,
I think he has a problem with the foldable phone, and because Apple are going to come out with a foldable phone. If they solve the crease problem, they've made it. All right. I don't think that they will. Just pure physics. They will reduce the crease problem, but I don't think that they will solve it. But if they solve it, it will be one of the, I was going to say it'd be one of those kind of like, and we call it iPhone reveal moments with Steve Jobs. I don't think it'd be that big. But I think that's what they need. They need to solve it, not reduce it. So we'll see. And the other thing I think that John Turnus might do, and what Apple are very good at, with finessing everything when everybody else has revealed it, is they might eventually come out with a workable Apple AI. Or sorry, just AI, Apple Intelligence, duh.
Well, I mean, it's mostly there, but the fact that it's taken this long means that the zeitgeist has probably moved on from what Apple had originally presented. What's interesting about Apple and AI is the move away from OpenAI to work with Gemini, to work with Google on the new Siri. So that's going to be, I don't even want to say fun. Like it's going to catch them up to everyone else.
We shall see. We'll get on to news about two other titans in the tech industry, Musk v. Altman, the court case in a second. Celebrity Deathmatch, I think, is much better. But first, interesting survey out in Ireland showing that working in IT these days is stressful. 60% of people working at large Irish companies say that they are getting stressed out or they're having mental health problems, especially in IT departments. A lot of it is to do around the adoption of AI and the expectations just being darn well unrealistic from management. With the AI, a lot of people are saying, and when I say a lot of people, 59% of people are saying that the problem is they're grappling between this AI and then legacy systems at the same time, which is slowing everything down.
Well,
So
this is a survey by Saros Consulting,
Yeah.
who, IT consultancy, and yeah, it's very much a case of unrealistic project management,
Yes.
and old technology not capable of delivering in a timely fashion. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a bean counter and you're looking at a budget and you can say, okay, well, we won't spend any more on that, or we'll reduce that line item by 10%. I mean, to them, that's numbers on a page. To a guy working in a data center, that's, hang on, you want me to reduce capacity, but deliver on this. Or we've got this mainframe that needs specialist maintenance, and there are fewer and fewer companies that will do it. And now the only people that will do it are naming their price, which very often happens as well. So it's very much a case of people not knowing how things work, and engineers and IT departments being on the wrong side of that.
Yeah, and then they're not getting the talent in. 61% of people in IT said that talent shortages were, kind of the people just aren't there. And because of that, they're working longer and longer hours. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier about trying to get in on the ground floor. You can't get in on the ground floor because you need 5 years experience in the ground floor to get in on the ground floor.
It makes you bang your head against the thing. It's like, maybe you should redefine what an entry level position, what is expected of you. In an entry-level job, because if talent is now considered 5 years industry experience before we let you in the door, well, you can dial that down a little bit.
From a lot of these things, and scope creep is another one. That's a favorite one in our job as well. Oh, could you just do this? Or could you just add this on?
Bit,
stop. So a lot of people, I think a lot of that is to do with management. I think that's what it's pointing at. It's like, the way the companies are managed and being put together, and the systems and stuff like that. And so that's where the problem is. I know you have a solution for that, because you always do a dance when you hear about middle management being let go from these large corporations. So maybe just get rid of middle management altogether. And then the other interesting thing, I think, is that there seems to be broad agreement across the Irish IT industry, because all of those numbers of people expressing those things were all in and around the 60% mark, which is a very clear majority. So that's that. Listen, let's get into Celebrity Deathmatch. Musk v. Altman. Tell me more.
Well, I mean, this is finally coming to court. I think I'm trying to think back what the timeline is on this. But anyway, Elon Musk v. Sam Altman, or Scam Altman, as he is being referred to on the X machine. There's a lot of fairly exhaustive reporting on this, particularly on Ars Technica. There's an awful lot of detail, but we'll go into the very general element of it. When you talk about Elon Musk, Dusty, you always bring up the mission, the idea that there is a greater mission at work.
Well, it's one of the, I think he can be a visionary. Do you know what I mean? He's kind of go, okay, we need to put man on well, I was about to say the moon. We need to put man on Mars. I love the fact that he's just thinking about that.
Yeah. And, he's dialed that back a bit. But yeah, he did have a vision of what he wanted. And when he came into OpenAI and started financing it, he very much had this vision of artificial general intelligence for all, that this was going to be a non-profit making entity, that this was just going to be, for the benefit of humanity, back when he used to think that things should be done for the benefit of humanity. So, however, relations broke down, primarily over the direction OpenAI would take, particularly when it emerged that ChatGPT was, popular, and potentially a very tidy revenue generator. As we know, there are plans to take OpenAI public this year. It will put a valuation of 850 billion thereabouts. And Altman has sort of emerged as this sort of not nearly Musk level, but another blank-faced tech bro looking to make billions. And Musk said, hang on, if you want to make money out of this, I'm out. This isn't what I got into in the first place. He went off and developed his own AI company in X.AI, of which X folded into it. And X.AI is now part of SpaceX, isn't it? Is it part of SpaceX or part of Tesla? Can't remember off the top of my head.
SpaceX, I think.
Yeah. So Musk's argument is that Altman sort of abandoned the mission, at which point I've got a serious problem as an investor. Therefore, it has gone to court. If OpenAI is found liable, they could cough up as much as $150 billion to Musk.
Oh, man. That would cover one of Musk's dinners.
I mean, this is like, and it's not like OpenAI is making money in the first place.
Yeah.
They cannot afford to be losing money. I mean, these bills are going to come to.
Well, listen, it'll be kicked down. You know yourself. It'll be, we're going to appeal, and it'll be kicked down the road and and all that kind of stuff.
The fun bit.
Here's the fun bit. This is what I want to hear.
Let them fight, because neither of us have a dog in this hunt. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're both loathsome. So, have at it. I'm sorry, but neither of them look like fun. Neither of them look like fun. So, in a let them fight kind of moment, jury selection was somewhat complicated last Monday because they were finding it hard getting a panel of jurors together that did not have either a negative opinion of Altman or Musk individually or AI in general.
That's kind of funny, but actually, in my mind, that kind of works, because if you have two of them on either side and the jury dislikes both of them, well, then it's even. Can you imagine if it was a jury and they all went, "Oh, we love Musk," and Altman's, we're not on his side? Well, then that'll be too one-sided. So actually, maybe it's a good thing.
Oh, hence let them fight. Let them at it. Just, I hope the jury enjoys their popcorn.
I say more court cases and stuff like that drive you nuts. Listen, we're way over, so I'm going to do just one quick update for you. And that is DAB Digital Radio is expanding. There's been a trial going on for the last year. They're now rolling it out. So digital radio will be available in the Midlands, South East, Cork, Limerick, Clare, Galway, Mayo, practically nationwide. If you have a car that you've bought in the last 5 years, so say like a 21 car and on upwards, that car will have DAB in it. So the next time you're in it, just find the DAB button and you will see up to 20 different stations in there, most of them music. So you've got alternative music stations, dance music stations, there's a load of oldies music stations, a couple of Dublin stations, Nova, Sunshine, Classic Hits are all going to go on it as well. There's a religious station in there, there's an Irish language radio station in there, and the one that I think is the most interesting is our friends over in Bauer Media Ireland with Go Loud. They're the people who run Today FM and News Talk and stuff like that. And Go Loud, as we know, is a big podcast network. They've got their own radio station on DAB.
So let me ask you this, Dusty.
Yes.
In terms of licensing,
yes,
is DAB Wild West? Because you make it sound like there's loads of stations on there. So can you just set up a DAB station, or do you have to go for a license?
Okay, you're asking me this because I did DAB 10 years ago, and what the only problem was, we were just 10 years too early. So yes, I know this inside out. Basically, the legislation has been there since 2009. I'm happy to say I had a small part in writing it, but anyways, since 2009, and I think it's a Section 71 license, which allows you to broadcast on a digital platform. So all of those services have to go to commission them on, and they have to say, we would like what's called a content license to broadcast on a DAB multiplex. And once they have that, they can supply their program or their radio station to DAB. They can also put it on cable television. They can also put it on satellite radio, and they can put it on DTT, which is Freeview or AirView or whatever it's called.
Fairview. Yeah.
Fairview. There you go. Grand. That's what a Content 71 license done. So a lot of the commercial broadcasters, so Onic, who will be the people behind FM 104 in Dublin and Q102, they've got about 10 different music stations on it. Bauer Media, who run Today FM and News Talk, they've kind of put on one or two stations to keep their hand in. And then there are some interesting independents. Radio Reraw is an Irish language station for young people. So it's kind of like Spin, but in the Irish language. You've got Freedom, which is kind of like a 90s, noughties dance music radio station. It's interesting stuff. You know, it's kind of, it's something that kind of shakes up the market. The problem is that they, as part of the trial license, they're not necessarily allowed to promote it. So they can't go out and say this is a brand new service and buy a DAB radio and all that, because strictly speaking, it's a trial and everybody, the service providers and the DAB network themselves, are all on a 1-year leash.
Right.
So it's entirely possible that in a year's time, it could all be closed down. But I think that's highly unlikely this time around.
Okay. Well, because there's so many people interested in it.
There's... No, I don't think that I don't think there is anybody interested in it from the public side of things. I think it'd be one of those things where when the public are given it, there will be take up and they will enjoy it, and it'll be something that will improve their radio experience. But there's no like demand or gap in the market for it at the moment. It just makes radio better.
Okay, so you're looking at sound quality and that kind of thing as well.
Sound quality. Don't go down the sound quality route. 30 years. People go, it's not as good. And no, it's better. And look, nobody can. The funny thing is that I've been in radio all my life and we obsess about audio quality. All right. We would drive you bananas with the levels we go to over sound quality. All right. So I find it really frustrating when I go into a focus group where you're watching members of the public, all right, talk about radio. And they kind of go, just dump it in the corner, fills the room with sound, don't care. Grand. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, it just makes noise, just plays music I like, don't care. You know? And if you have a look like at a lot of the DAB radios, most of them only have one speaker. They're mono. So for somebody who's obsessed with, kind of stereo quality and stuff like that, I don't think it's FM, DAB, it's all the same. It's all the same. From a normal person's point of view. It's the choice that is there. And what I really like about DAB is that it's a reasonable choice. People go on about internet radio and you can have 10,000 radio stations. Well, I mean, that's great. But I mean, look at the amount of choice we have on TV and stuff like that now, or on Netflix even. Do you know what I mean? You've thousands of movies and box sets on Netflix. And what's the one thing everybody says? There's nothing to watch on Netflix because there's too much. With DAB radio, there's 20 extra stations there. Oh, great. Lovely. I'll find one or two of those. Anyway, you're getting me evangelizing now, Niall. You nasty man. All right. So DAB radio, if you're in a car that has been manufactured in the last 5 years or so, look for the DAB button and just have a look and play around with some new radio stations in there. But for now, we've gone way, 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 way over on the news for this week. But Niall, as always, thanks for keeping us up to date.
Delivering Irish tech news since 2006, this is Tech Radio.
In just 4 years' time, in 2030, Ireland will officially dump copper and become a fibre-only nation. Is this loss of copper something that we or businesses in the country should be concerned about? And what kind of products and services will be available in our fibre-only world? To find out, Niall Kitson had a chat with the Managing Director of Magnet Plus, Patrick Masterson, about what comes next.
Patrick, recently the discussion on all things networks and connectivity has been about the copper network switch off, which may or may not happen by 2030, might take a little bit longer. From a future-proofing perspective, I imagine this is a pretty good time for businesses to sit down and do maybe an audit of, how many lines we have, or, do we need to upgrade to full fibre straight away? So what kind of concerns are you seeing out there in the market right now?
Yeah, thank you, Niall, and thanks for the opportunity to join your podcast. Look, from our side, the copper switch off earmarked for 2030. There's already been some countries in Europe that have completed the program, mainly in the Nordics. Most of the rest of Europe has still got a bit to go, including the UK, which I think originally set out a date for about 2023, 2025, and I think the latest date now is 27. In the Irish context, as you said, the switch off is expected to be in 2030. That means businesses and individuals need to do something in order to prepare for that. So what it means is effectively is the copper line that goes into every premise or every business in the country will no longer be used, and all services will switch to the VoIP or IP network. What that means is that your traditional telephone line, where you might have obviously had your phone connected to it, or maybe in some instances you might have had an alarm system connected to it, or you might even had sort of fire alarm systems, or even in some buildings, maybe you have a lift and there's an emergency phone in the actual lift that you can call somebody, those sort of things, or indeed some pendants that people use in care home scenarios, where they're all using effectively the PSTN network to make a call. Those devices will no longer be able to do that. And so therefore, there's a requirement for business owners to look at the technology that they're using in their facilities and switch them over to IP-based devices. Or in some instances, if you have the old PBX system, most PBX today are IP enabled, but in the unusual situation where your PBX system wasn't, again, you would need to switch over to an IP-based system or else move to a cloud system. So we're seeing at the minute a lot of customers who are aware of this, impending date, but not necessarily understanding what they need to do in order to get ready for it. So in our view, we're saying to customers, what you really need to do is do a little bit of an audit, look at your bill, look at all of the PSTN lines that you have in your business, look at all of the ISDN lines, understand what's going across those lines, what's using those lines, and do a bit of rationalization. And that's the first part of the process. Obviously, any telephone numbers and stuff like that you have can be switched across to the IP network seamlessly through your operator. So that's the first part. And the good thing about all of that means that you should be able to get some cost savings as a result of that. So by switching your network from traditional PSTN, ISDN over to an IP-based network, you should be able to make some savings, both on the rental and also on the call charges that are applicable on those services. The second thing we'd advocate to customers is to actually look at the connectivity you have into your building, because fundamentally what's going to change is if you're relying on, say, what was the old, broadband network or a fiber to the cabinet system, you're now moving to the fiber to a premises, which is a direct fiber system. That's an opportunity for you to review. Have you got the necessary capacity and bandwidth that you need to service your business going forward? That's one question. The second question is it resilient? And by that I mean, in the event that there's an outage and that broadband capacity goes down, what are you going to do in terms of maintaining the services to your customers, supporting your employees, and how is your business going to continue to run? And in particular, are you going to lose revenue as a result? So we're advocating to all our customers that you should have a backup plan in place. And that backup plan can be, depending on your business size and scale, simply putting in a 4 or 5G SIM card to enable the broadband service to move over to a mobile network. Or indeed, if you've got a bigger requirement, that you bring in a second line, or either bring in a full fiber solution and maybe divert your services to a wireless solution in the event that you need it, guaranteed resiliency. So the question comes down to availability and uptime, and how much is it you're going to lose if your business can't continue in operation. So effectively, your business is going to rely solely on those connectivity solutions. And whether you're providing, or accessing cloud services and maybe your 365, or you've got CRM systems, or even if you're starting to use AI solutions, that you need the ability for those services to continue. So it's really important that you have a look at your capacity, and that's your connectivity solution. And we at Magna Plus provide a range of connectivity solutions to meet your requirements, be be you an enterprise of a very large scale in nature, or someone who's got a small to medium sized business who is a more smaller requirement, but nonetheless just as important.
I think the element there of making sure that you have a consistency of service can be quite a challenge when you've got a distributed workforce as well, where you have a lot of people working from home. So what way do you find customers are approaching that? Is it a case of, there's sort of a checklist of, okay, who has an appropriate fibre connection so far that, they will still be able to work effectively remotely, and what kind of timeline do we have in terms of getting our staff up and running? Or is that something that customers and businesses really haven't started getting to grips with yet?
Well, I think, obviously following the COVID epidemic, and that obviously forced businesses to look at remote working and develop solutions that enabled all of their systems and applications to be available outside the office environment. So I suppose one of the, shall we say, few benefits of COVID, let's put it that way, was that it did actually force every enterprise and every business in the country to be able to enable people to work remotely, be they wherever they are in the world. So invariably, most companies ensured, obviously, that people working from home could access systems and services through their own bandwidth in their own house. But a lot of companies invested in what we would call unified communications platforms, or cloud hosted platforms, whereby it's irrelevant as to where the person's based, and you can dial in to your Teams environment, to your cloud hosted solution anywhere in the world, and effectively be in the position whereby, as if you're in the office, and therefore work in the same capacity and access all of the same systems, and therefore meet that requirement of being, be it a fully remote or a hybrid working environment. So that's the sort of trajectory we see businesses going in, whereby they're developing systems and applications and connectivity solutions that match that requirement of both in the office and to work from anywhere in the world, should they need to do so.
Yeah, so we sort of talked a little bit about practicalities there. However, connectivity has a tremendously political element to it as well. I mean, the success, and I suppose we can call it success, of the National Broadband Strategy has sort of shown that government can actually step in and sponsor things that do work, even if it does, happen on an extremely long timeline. Our next sort of frontier in politics is that of data centers, which rely on massive amounts of compute, massive amounts of storage, but also very, very robust connectivity as well. Where do you find working with data centers? Are sort of developers coming to you saying, look, we're thinking of working on a data center project over here. What would the logistics of getting a good line in here be? I know there's a moratorium at the moment, but I'm sure there's plenty of blue sky thinking out there as well.
Yeah. So look, I mean, Magnet Plus, and supported by our sister company eNet Communications, have got connections into pretty much every data center in the country, and there is ample bandwidth available to connect to data centers, from as little as 500 meg to gig to 100 gig if the customer so desires, and we do have customers who have that sort of capacity requirements. So getting connectivity to data centers is relatively straightforward at the data center side. I suppose the issue becomes where your location is, and if you're in a metropolitan area, then the chances are you have access to fibre services directly outside your building. Absolutely, the likes of the rollout of the National Broadband Strategy has helped more rural areas to connect in regional locations, and that's been a very really, really good success for particularly the residential and small business segment, where they're now able to get speeds of 1 gig services, and that's been hugely so. I suppose the answer is really, if you can get connectivity and fibre to your building, then you've got effectively a highway to get as much bandwidth as you need in order to meet your requirements and meet your data center requirements and whatever applications or services you want to run from that particular centre. So Ireland is very well served, and there's lots of capacity in terms of the networks. It is growing exponentially as AI services develop and cloud services develop. But certainly, we once we can get over the hurdle of bringing the fibre to your site, and a lot of instances, and particularly in Magnet, and we would dig to certain customers where there's a justification to do so, and that will effectively meet that requirement to give them the size and scale and upscale their bandwidth requirements into the future.
You mentioned there about the pandemic and how it forced an awful lot of infrastructure upgrades. It also forced an awful lot of companies to progress their digital transformation efforts at a scale far beyond what they had expected. Do you find that customers are a bit more, for want of a better term, literate when it comes to understanding their requirements? Is it a case of, no, just give us broadband, or is it a case of, look, we've been working very effectively with this level of connection, please replicate this for us?
Yeah, I think there's a really good understanding of the broadband market and understanding what broadband can do. I think there's probably less of an understanding in terms of what you need to do beyond that. And what we see, and we're always advocating to businesses that, yes, you've got your broadband connection, but have you got, a backup strategy for that connection in the event that it fails? And that's where a lot of businesses haven't really invested time and effort to support that. So in simple terms, the cost of not being able to take credit card payments, the cost of your team not being able to access cloud services for a day, or having to send them home for a day, or whatever that might be, versus the cost of investing in a backup solution is really important for small and medium sized, and obviously large businesses as well. So we would always advocate that if you have a broadband connection, a fibre broadband connection, that you invest in a secondary, either 4G, 5G failover service, or you go further. If you've got a DIA service, which is a direct internet connection, a full internet connectivity service, that you invest in a second connection, which to a diverse node or to a diverse access point, or indeed you invest in a wireless solution that would give you complete diversity, in order to make sure that in the event that there is an outage, and look, there's always times when something goes wrong, or there's a storm, or there's power cuts, or whatever that might be, where networks do go down, that you've got some alternative in order to continue operations, continue to business, because the loss of revenue and the customer impact can't be replaced. And that's something that we really are advocating quite a lot to our customer base, that they have diverse and resilient solutions in place to make sure they meet their business requirements.
That is quite interesting that you're recommending that people look for a different type of network as opposed to just a second line from the same network. Do you find that there is an element of skepticism about the effectiveness of mobile networks still, or is it acceptance that, look, 5G will in the event of emergency open 5G and everything will be fine?
A lot comes down to where you are and how close you are to a base station, and more importantly, whereabouts your comms room is in relation to. So typically most comms rooms are either in the basement or in some dark corner that gets very poor signal. So it's important that when you're assessing these solutions, that you've taken into account, well, where is the basement, and is it in a poor signal area, in which case maybe a 4 or 5G service mightn't be the right solution for you, and that you may need to invest in a secondary fibre connection, and on that basis, to guarantee the service. And so it's very important, depending on, the operations you have, the cost budget that you want to spend on this, and the guarantee that you need to make sure that the service actually will operate when in the event that you need to call upon it for support.
And that was Niall Kitson chatting with Patrick Masterson, the Managing Director of Magnet Plus.
This is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
That's it for our show this week. As always, a ton more stories online, which we couldn't squeeze into the podcast. What have we got on the website, Niall?
Yeah, we have Marie Boran on how an AI deleted Pocket OS's database, despite there being guardrails in place to stop that from happening. Europe gets tough on data centres, and France pulls millions of health records from Azure.
All of those stories and more online at techcentral.ie. We're back again next Friday with a brand new show. Do remember in the meantime to share our podcast with a friend if they're into tech and the industry here in Ireland, gadgets and all that. Tell them to look up Tech Radio Ireland wherever they get their podcast. Until next time, from myself, Dusty, and from Niall Kitson, thanks as always for listening and have an amazing long bank holiday weekend.
Remember, you can get the latest Irish tech news with hourly updates, daily newsletters, and more at our website, techcentral.ie. Share the knowledge and invite a friend to listen. Search Apple, Spotify, or YouTube for Tech Radio Ireland, or listen with RTE Radio 1 Extra. Tech Radio is produced by dustpod.io for techcentral.ie. From me, Artemis, live long and prosper.